Yo, have you seen the commercials put out by the website company Truth.com? For several years, they've made TV and web public service announcements about the hazards of smoking cigarettes. And although we at DGTv support their pursuit against the tobacco industry, the claim that the addiction nicotine creates that's responsible for the nearly 500,000 annual deaths in America isn't all fact. After doing a little extra research on cigarettes, it seems the Truth.com hasn't been telling you the whole truth. They left out a key everyday substance whose dangers are seldom spoke of. See, the food processing industry is the biggest sugar customer, putting as much as 50% into processed food. What's shocking to know is, filling the number 2 slot is the tobacco industry. In 1965, the Federal Cigarette Labeling and Advertising Act, along with the Surgeon General, commissioned all cigarette manufacturers are required to tell you on the cigarette box that smoking is hazardous to your health, but they are not required to tell you any further info. In fact, cigarettes are probably the only substance that does not print its ingredients on the box. Most have been misled to believe it's only made of tar, nicotine, and filters, but they do not tell you about the tobacco. The history of tobacco didn't start until after Columbus got lost and landed in the Americas. The second native man, because Africans were here in the Americas well before the so-called Indian, had been blowing peace pipes for centuries before their encounter with whitey. The tobacco plant wasn't brought to Europe until 1558 by the Spanish physician Jean Nicot, where the word nicotine is derived from. According to the March 1973 edition of Medical World News, there's an average of 5 to 20% sugar that's added to cigarettes, up to 20% in cigars and as much as 40% in pipe tobacco, mainly in the form of molasses. Yet, the Surgeon General and the Federal Trade Commission only require cigarettes to label their hazardous, while neither even mention the word sugar or any other scientific translation. The truth is, based on experimental studies, the presence of sugar in cigarettes is the main source of lung cancer. This was done by conducting experiments in environments where cigarettes were processed with sugar and places where they used tobacco that wasn't laced with the addicting drug. They found that cigarettes made in Britain have the highest sugar content of any in the world at 17%. American cigarettes came to about 15%, with Russia, China, Formosa, and other countries where they're made from the air-dried tobacco, which is the closest to what the Indians smoked. From this group, they were unable to find any cases of lung cancer correlated to smoking. But what was found was the combination of tremendous excess of sugar and artificially toxic animal protein eaten is the link to causing lung cancer. So, if you're eating meat and smoking, you're a candidate for lung cancer. This brings the addiction cigarettes have to an even deeper level. Not only are you fighting the addiction of nicotine, you're also combating the even stronger addiction of refined sucrose, which is another name for white sugar. If you are a smoker or know someone who does, think how many times you heard them say they needed to relax, so they lit up. Or in the morning, as soon as they wake up, they light up. Or after a meal, or even after sex for that matter. Then think of how challenging it is for them to try to kick the habit. Just as with sugar, the longer a person goes without a puff, the more uneasy they become. If they hold out long enough, they will begin to resemble a crackhead looking for his next hit. Author of Sugar Blues, William Duffy, said, "On the one hand, the government informs us that smoking depletes our systems of certain vitamins. On the other hand, the government assures us we don't have to worry since the average U.S. diet supplies these essential items in quantity aplenty." This is where the mindfuck begins. If you read the piece In Sickness and in Health or Potential Wealth in our DGT archive section, you'll see that the hospital administration, along with the Food and Drug Administration, have every intention to kill us all slowly through malnutrition. After we develop problems over the years from continued consumption of food from their food pyramid, we then come literally crawling to the local hospital, desperately seeking a cure to our problems. They in turn pump us with other addictive slow death drugs, never getting us healthy. Why do you think they take the Hippocratic Oath? What's the root word of Hippocratic? Hypocrite. Wake up, world.